We are continuing our creepy real-life stories for the month of October.
We've got a doozy of a one today on the show.
Good morning, scallywags! In the spooky month of the year that we love so much, fall is here, Halloween's coming.
It's cold.
Halloweener is coming.
Halloweener
is coming. We of course have decided to give you some true stories that are right up there with some of the best horror movies that happened in real life.
That's right.
For this month, and this week we're talking about the Grand Guignol. This is a theater back in Paris. Started in I think it was like the 18th century, 1895.
Yep.
And lasted up until the 60s.
Yeah.
Believe it or not.
Made it through World War II and World War I.
And basically they put on horror stories, basically horror plays, that were so realistic, using some of the latest
cutting edge technology of the
absolutely,
time.
for not only just media but special effects as well, that were so realistic that they had to have doctors on site at all times for people passing out, vomiting, all sorts of stuff. So we're jumping back to our I think that was the same site we've used for at least one or two of these already, but atlasobscura.com has a great write-up on these guys. Actually, if you've ever seen or read Interview with the Vampire, the Paris Vampire Theater was actually inspired by the Grand Guignol.
The Grand Guignol.
Yeah. So let's check it out. What do you say?
Well, sure. One of the most notorious stages of all time. It was a place where playwrights staged horrific tales of violence, revenge, and murder. It actually was a murderer. Yeah, it was actually an old chapel. That's probably the best thing about it is they took something so holy and so full of hope and love and changed it into the House of
Horrors. They actually turned the confessional booths into their box seats, and then under the orchestra pit there were actually these boxes where the nuns used to watch church services, and this is where certain people could go to watch the plays because people would actually get turned on by this stuff, and that's where they could pay a little extra to sit down there because they were known to get a little too aroused.
And you got to keep them away from the rest of the public.
And they'd get so excited in there that sometimes the actors would actually, I became Italian there for a second, sometimes
some of the times
the actors would actually break character and be like, hey, keep it down in there.
Yeah, bang on the stage a little bit. It's kind of interesting. You get through this and it's very, very, it's not graphic by any stretch of the imagination, but you can kind of get that feel. He established Metagneur. It's a French word. Metagneur. Established the Grand Guignol with the intentions of creating a space for a naturalistic theater. Naturalism was a 19th century movement in Europe drama that focused on creating grounded plays depicting regular characters in realistic settings and situations. However, his view of naturalism lent more towards the seedier side of life, with many of his plays depicting prostitutes, criminals, street urchins, and whose are subjects that were not only frowned upon, but considered criminally offensive. One of his plays, Mademoiselle Fifi, which was about a prostitute, was even shut down by Paris police. But while Metaigneur's plays were controversial in the depiction of society's unmentionable classes, they were a far cry from what was to come.
Yeah. Basically, in 1897, it was taken over by a man named Max Maury, and he kind of took it to what it was to be known for. Basically, he leaned into the space for just straight up horror. They started putting on basically several plays a night. They were all kind of short plays. He would do a horror, then they would do a comedy to kind of release some of the tension, then back to horror, and they'd go back and forth. As the seasons went on, all the plays began just taking on grimmer subject matter. They did an adaptation of The Telltale Heart. He also started touching on social and political themes, but twisting them into violent tales of murder and revenge. Like Andre Delorde's The Ultimate Torture.
Right.
And when theater goers, when they came there, they were presented with a handful of short plays, like I said. And basically, he was said to kind of judge the success of any given play by the number of people that would pass out or vomit. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Success, we got it. Yeah, and getting the house doctor in there was kind of a publicity stunt, but basically it worked.
Yeah.
Well.
Under his leadership, he began focusing on tales of insanity, hallucination, and the aforementioned terror. The previously mentioned Delorde became the Grand Guignol's leading playwright starting in 1901. He went on to work with another co-writer to involve figures like child-killing nannies, mad doctors who performed vengeful lobotomies, and jealous women who would stick, a pair of scissors in people's eyes. Like, that's an ordinary thing to do.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. During his tenure, he wrote 150 plays. Now, that's a lot. Just 150 plays for the theater, and it ushered through the most prosperous and iconic era. He was quite a libertarian by day. Delorde entered the nickname The Prince. How would you like to have that nickname? The Prince of Terror. For his works at the theater.
Yeah. Then in 1914, Maury gave leadership of the theater over to Camille Choisy, basically, who focused on increasing the straight up viscera in the special effects.
Guts everywhere.
Oh yeah, writing plays about sex and violence, and shocking enough. But under Choisy, the Grand Guignol was devoted to bringing their horrors to life as realistically, or at least as gruesomely, as they possibly could, with the special effects capable at the time. Blood gushed from wounds, bodies were cut to pieces. Together with theatrical lighting and sounds, the thrills and scares were so shocking that, according to a 1957 New York Times Magazine article, the audience members would call for doctors and sometimes even call for police.
Wow.
During the performances. The article goes on to tell of a blood transfusion scene, and that's kind of become notorious for the place, that caused a record 15 people to pass out.
Can you imagine that today? Everyone being like, I'm not calling the police, we're videotaping this.
Well, now, like, you get these horror movies that come out, and there was one here recently that was released on Netflix that was... trying to remember the name of it.
It was like a cannibalistic type.
No, it was a demon possession movie, and it was a girl's name, I think, was the title of it. But they were saying that, like, people couldn't finish this movie, and it's so terrifying. It's the most terrifying movie ever made, and no one can finish it. There were articles all over the place about how no one could finish this movie. Abigail, I think, maybe was the name of it. Anyway,
yeah,
yes, Abigail. And so I watched it, and it was okay. There was like kind of a big climactic sort of action-y scene at the end.
Action-y?
That was about it. I don't understand. People just...
I can't watch this movie!
People just don't have it in them anymore. I mean, that's why, like, the most popular horror movie of the last decade has been The Conjuring.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, people. That movie is not good. It's not scary. It's not good. It's too clean and too crisp and bright to be a good horror movie.
Kind of like The Nun. The Nun is supposed to be a really good horror movie. And
I
it's
saw
just
The
like,
Nun.
There's no suspense whatsoever. I know,
talk about
tangent. Here we are
in the book.
It's kind of hard to get scared when you film everything in 4K.
Yeah.
It's just like horror is supposed to be creepy and dark and out of focus.
It's why, like, some of the scariest horror movies ever are like The Exorcist or the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah.
Which the Texas Chainsaw, perfect example. The acting is terrible. The special effects are non-existent. I mean, there's so little blood in that movie. It's ridiculous.
It's not a.
But it's so grainy.
It's grainy and grainy.
It's so raw that it feels like this really happened.
Yeah. Kind of like the plays.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway,
even with the gross outs, the popularity continued to grow, hitting its peak between the two world wars when the theater became a, what else? Tourist attraction. That's right. Go to Paris, see the bloody theater. Potpourri. Go to Potpourri.
Go to Potpourri.
Go to Potpourri. During its heyday, the Grand Dame was actress Paula Maxima, who performed from 1917 into 1930, earning the I cannot say that word. Ignanimous, that's right, ignanimous distinction of being the most assassinated woman in the world. She was killed over 10,000 times on stage.
In like a 15-year period.
Yeah. Wow, that's a really good...
What the hell was that?
That's a dog.
That just sounded like straight up demons screaming out.
It was a dog. And even Bella's getting all about it. I lost my train of thought. She's killed over 10,000 times in the theater. She was stabbed, shot, strangled, poisoned, eaten by a puma. And you kind of like, there's a clip out there on the internet. Go look it up of the reporter getting... walking
Lord.
by a puma and it's a dog.
Look at this dog.
It's a dog. Just to name a few of her gruesome stage performances. But here's the bigger one. Trigger warning for anybody out there. She was also simulated and subjugated to potential rape on stage 3,000 times.
Simulated rape.
Yeah, not real rape, simulated rape.
But with all the queasy, sadistic entertainment, it simply couldn't last.
Nope.
Basically, after World War II came through, everybody got to see
what real horror
looked like in real life.
And in living color.
Yes, and right up close, right in their face.
Yep.
And basically, after that, numbers just started to dwindle, and simply couldn't. People didn't want to see.
People
that
didn't want to
anymore.
see that anymore. Yep. It's kind of like right after 9/11, we didn't see a whole lot of buildings being destroyed in movies.
Right.
That kind of took about 10 years to come back.
So, the Queen of Horror, she left the theater in 1937. And by that point in time, the onset of the German occupation in Paris, around 1940 or so, that it just never recovered.
Yeah, the theater just didn't come back.
They finally closed their doors in 1962.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's time for
I think it's time for it to come back. It's time for a renaissance. Yes. The theater continued to receive famous guests like Ho Chi Minh, King of Romania, who had a bedroom in the backstage of the theater where he would sleep with his mistresses while plays took place. But yeah, it's just one of those things. It's sad to say that it hit its stride before World War I and it kind of dwindled. Yeah. The old theater is actually still around. It houses the International Visual Theater, which specializes in sign language plays.
There's
a switch for you. Yeah. Although it is tough trying to make up for all the horror that was on stage in the past, but it did not leave behind a legacy of blood and terror that has carried on. But it did leave a legacy of blood and terror into other influences that can be seen across the entire spectrum of modern horror movies.
Yeah, basically the torture porn, that genre of horror film.
Yeah,
was basically that. We have the Grand Guignol to thank for that.
Yeah, the one that really steps out to me is popular modern fans. There was a victim that was gagged and whipped. Then the tips of her breasts were clipped off with head shears and her eyes were scooped out with soup spoons and jackknives. We are very proud of that sequence, says Charles Noonan.
Says Eli Roth.
So I'm glad you enjoyed that, but like Spoo said, that's where the torture porn comes from.
Yeah. So there you go.
Another real life tale of real life horror, better than any fiction about. But it is about fiction.
What? Better than any fiction about.
A boot.
Okay.
Yep.
But yeah, there you have it.
Fiction. And
they were plays. I mean, it wasn't like people were really getting killed on stage, but there were a lot of people that thought that's what's happening.
That's what's real, yeah.
People were calling for police and we're not talking like picking up their cell phone and calling the cops. Like,
no, they were having to go outside and shout for them.
Yeah.
Blow whistles.
And I mean, like the transfusion one, of course, that's like one of their most famous ones. There was another one that was just called Telephone, where there was, it was basically just a guy being forced to listen to his wife and children being murdered on the other end of a telephone line. I mean, so they kind of did it all. It wasn't just gore and viscera and stuff like that. I mean, they went psychological with it.
You can see all of this now on the deep web.
Yeah, in real life.
Mm-hmm.
But I would love to see something like this. Like in real life.
I don't know that it would really. It would be a very niche thing. I don't think it would be very.
I mean, it would have to be in like New Orleans or New York or someplace like that, where you've got kind of a subculture that's still very much into this type of thing. But
let's put it right here in the middle of the Bible Belt.
That would last about a night, if that.
So, hey guys, do you got any other of these real life spooky stories you would like us to go through? Go ahead and put those down in the comments below.
Yeah, check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
You're on YouTube, so keep doing those YouTubes. Like, share, comment, and subscribe.
Indeed, do that. And as long as you're just checking out the social media, you can get yourself a show shirt.
Which, give me just a sec.
Yeah. Basically, we've got these available for you. You can get a short sleeve one for $20. You can get a long sleeve one for $22. They look like this. Like that right there.
That is our Halloween
got
version.
The address on the back.
Black and orange.
Perfect Halloween colors there for you. You just send us a private message there letting us know what size of shirt you need, what color of shirt you would like, and what color you would like the text to be on that shirt.
That short sleeve shirt's going to be $20. A long sleeve version of it's $22, and a fabulous hoodie, because it is now officially fall, is only $25.
It definitely feels like it today. Yeah. So, yeah, tomorrow's our favorite day of the week, guys. You know what day that is? You say it was this then.
Yeah, not now.
Not now. Wait till then.
Wait till then.
Yeah.
We'll see you tomorrow.
Bye.
I'm a rock star!
Done that already.
No. Here's your Russian clip of the day.
Hey guys, thanks for watching that video. We hope you enjoyed it.
Yeah, and if you liked what you see, go ahead and click on our faces to go ahead and subscribe to get all of our Monday through Friday stuff.
Indeed, and here's a couple of links down below that you can follow to watch more shows like it. Tons of great content right here at Scallywag Productions. We'll see you tomorrow.